Welcome to all my wonderful listeners. I'd like to tell you a story which is actually a Pesach story, but it can be told any time of the year. And the name of the story is The General, the Old General, and the Toldot Yaakov Yosef. What a name is that? It's actually the name of a book rather than the name of a person. But often people get known by the names of their books. The General and the Toldot Yaakov Yosef. Now this story actually begins when you have a nice young Jewish couple getting married. Here's the chassan, and here's the kala. And they got married, and they were very happy together, until one day the wife starts noticing that her husband is doing some very strange things. First of all, he's getting up at the night when only the moon is out, and he is saying some very strange prayers that she's not used to. She doesn't know, but they are called tikkun chatzot. And secondly, she finds that in the mornings he gets up early and he goes to mikvah, and he takes the plunge. And she doesn't understand. Her father never used to get up early in the morning and go to mikvah. And then, strangest of all, she noticed that out of his tallis bag, he would take a book that she had never seen before. And she didn't know what the book was. But he would read from that book, but then he would be very careful to see if anybody was watching. And if anybody was watching, he would quickly put the book away into his tallis bag so that nobody would know. Well, she told her father about this because she wondered, what is going on? My father never did any of these things. I love my husband, but I don't understand what exactly he is doing. And so her father did as any self-respecting father would do. He sneaked into his son-in-law's tallis bag, and he took out the sefer when his son-in-law wasn't looking, and lo and behold, he saw the name of the sefer, and when he did, he saw red because it was the Toldos Yaakov Yosef. Oh no! Now to us today that doesn't mean so much, but in those days that was the sefer of one of the primary students of the Baal Shem Tov, the man known as Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Polnoa, who was known by the name of his sefer. He was known as the Toldos. And in those days, there was a very large gulf between the new Hasidic movement and the anti-Hasidic movement became known as Misnagdim, and never the twain shall meet. The Hasidim did their thing. The Misnagdim were worried that the Hasidim were not going to be traditional Jews, and they sought every way of stopping the movement in its tracks. They persecuted followers of the Baal Shem Tov. They made trouble for them. They tried anything they could to avoid any of the members of their family becoming, God forbid, Hasidim. They did not know that somewhere down the line, Hasidim and Misnagdim would coexist and would be serving the same Hashem in the same religion. And so, when he saw that his son-in-law was reading the Toldot Yaakov Yosef, he says, "Oh no, my son has become a member of the cult." As soon as he found this out, the father-in-law went to his daughter and said to her, "You must agree to have a divorce." But she said, "No, I love him. I don't want to be divorced. I didn't ask you to find this out in order to divorce him. I just wanted to know what was in that book." And then the father-in-law would not take no for an answer. Instead, the father-in-law went around town and told everybody what was going on, and everybody felt that this couple should get divorced. And the only question was, what was the strategy that they should take? So, some people said that what they should do is immediately go to the guy and show him the door. Tell him he had better divorce his wife or else. Other people said that would make the get, that would make the divorce invalid. It wouldn't work because he was forced. What they should do instead is try to give him anything he wants, and then maybe he would go and look for the door himself and divorce his wife. But meanwhile, the boy said, "I love my wife." And the girl said, "I love my husband," and neither one of them wanted to get divorced, and the entire town was engulfed in the flames of machlokas, and there was so much machlokas going around that the sound of it finally reached one very important person. That important person was none other than the general. The old general who owned the entire town. He was a Russian general who had served for decades in the Russian army, and he retired to his estate, and he owned the entire village. And when he heard that all of the argument was about a book, he said, "Bring me all the people who are arguing, and bring me the first page of that book." And so the chassan was brought, and the kala was brought, and the father was brought, and the arguing people were brought, and they came, and they brought the book, and the book said Toldos Yaakov Yosef, but on the first page it also said the name of the author in Russian, and it said Rabbiner, the rabbi whose name is Jacob Joseph of Polnoa, and the general said, "Stop! Now the time has come for me to tell you a story that has happened to me decades and decades ago, and this is the moment in my life and in yours that the story must be told." The story that I'm about to tell you took place 60 years ago, when I was not a general yet. I was only a colonel. But I was in charge of many different soldiers. And then the orders came one day for us to leave, but I did a roll call and I discovered that 3 of my soldiers were missing. And so I sent other soldiers to go and find them. But those soldiers came back and they told me a story that I could not believe. They said, "We found the other soldiers, but we found them somewhere where they are standing and they cannot move. They are just standing in some weird position and they cannot move. You have to see this." I said to them, "Comrades, you have been drinking too much." And I sent 3 other soldiers to go and to find them. But they came back with the same message. And so I said, "I have to see this for myself." And I went to see where my soldiers were, and what a sight met my eyes. When I came to the house that they showed me, and I stepped in, the first thing I saw was a long table set up with all of the finest accoutrements. There was glass, crystal, silver, the beautiful table settings. It looked like a feast had just been concluded. And the chairs had mostly been pulled away from the table, except there was one chair at the head of the table where there was an old man with a long beard sitting, and his eyes were almost closed, and he had a big white cap on, and he was thinking thoughts that made it seem like he was flitting in another world. But I didn't look at him for very long, because near the table I saw my men, frozen in grotesque positions. And there they were standing, and I said to them, "Ivan, I'm ordering you to march." And Ivan didn't move a muscle. I said, "Dmitri, let's go, roll call." And Dmitri stayed frozen to the spot. And I looked at the rabbi who was sitting at the head of the table, and I was surprised that he really wasn't asleep, because suddenly he said, "Maybe they have stolen something from the table." Oh. So I ordered my men to search the pockets of their paralyzed comrades, and you'd never guess what came out. This one had a knife in his pocket, and this one had a fork, and that one had a spoon, and this one had a silver goblet, and everybody had taken things from the table. And as soon as we took them out of their pockets, suddenly they were able to move once more, all except one of them. One of them was still frozen, And that's when one of the other soldiers said, maybe he put it in his boot. And so we checked his boot, and lo and behold, there was a silver spoon in his boot. And when we took that out, he could walk also. Suddenly I realized that this was no ordinary man at the table. This was a holy man, a holy rabbi. What I didn't realize was that this had been the end of a Passover Seder. And the rabbi sitting at the table was Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Polna'a. And my soldiers had walked by, seeing an old man sitting at a table with all kinds of rich and expensive objects on it, and they thought, he's a pushover. We'll take anything we want, we'll sell it in the nearest town, we'll make a killing. Little did they know that when you try to steal from a holy man, the punishment is not long in coming upon you. Once I realized how holy this man was, I spoke to him and I begged him to bless me. "Oh, Rabbi, would you please bless me and my wife that we will have children?" Because we had no children to that point. "And would you also bless me that I should live a long life?" And he gave me both of the blessings that I asked for. And then I said to him, "Rabbi, will you tell me how long am I going to live? When will I die?" And he said, "Nobody knows the exact date of their death. But this much I will tell you. The time will come, near the end of your life, that you will have the opportunity to tell this story to people who don't know me and to explain to them who I am. Then you will know that the end of your life is near." And so concluded the nobleman, the old general. I have lived over 60 years since that day. I have had children, and I have had grandchildren, and I have had great-grandchildren, and I have had a long and happy life. And now I am saddened perhaps that my life is drawing to an end, but I am at the same time happy that my life can now be used to help people to know this great rabbi and to help make peace among the people of this town. And so I am telling you, this young man and this young woman must stay married, and you all must refuse to say bad things about this rabbi because he is a holy man. Go and live in peace. And they did.